Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lunchtime chat. Do you ever wonder why hair professionals request a consultation before committing to providing a hair service? Or maybe you aren't even aware that that is highly recommended because you've never had one. But if you have had one, are you one of many who feel that they're just a waste of time? Well, today we are going to dive into the importance of hair consultations and how they can help to prevent potential hair disasters. My name is Dr. Crystal Porter, and I'm a hair scientist and owner of Main Insights, a company that conducts research and focuses on the hair needs of people of African descent. This platform is designed to elevate the Black hair care industry and empower consumers and hair professionals with education that is driven and backed by scientific research. So, before we get started, I would love to know who is out there with us this morning. Let me know who you are and where you're watching from by putting it in the chat. If you are a practitioner, professional, put the number one. If you are a consumer, put the number two. And if you are a researcher or a scientist, such as myself, put the number three. Also, don't be stingy. Be sure to like and share this broadcast. Now, if you are frustrated with the lack of information available when it comes to caring for your hair, and you've wasted a lot of time, money, and resources trying to figure things out on your own, then you are definitely in the right place. And that is why we have created the Our Black Hair Matters movement. And before we jump in, I have put together a very valuable resource called The Three Biggest Mistakes to Avoid When Caring for Curly Hair. And let me put that here. And you should see that in the ticker below. Now, if you have a pressing concern where you would love to get some assistance, our team is standing by and you can schedule a 15-minute consultation by going to maininsights.com/appointment. And it's right there in the window. So we are going to get to it. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you may have heard me talk about how I have predetermined my hair needs. So, being the nerd that I am, when it was my first time to relax my hair after being natural, the first time that I did it, I determined or I set out to determine which treatment system was going to be best for my hair. And so what I did is I collected my hair strands and then I tested a number of systems on my hair and then I chose the one that was right for me. Now, the second time, I was making sure that my relaxed hair would be compatible with the permanent hair color because I was starting to get some gray and I was experimenting with color, but I wasn't sure if my hair was strong enough to endure the compound treatment. So what I did is I collected more hair fibers of my relaxed hair and then I did a color treatment. And I had my go-to hairstylist who was very patient with me and we put color on my relaxed hair so we can see how the color would take in terms of how it would turn out and then also to see what the strength of the hair was. So even though I was nerding out and I leveraged my expertise to do pre-testing in the unconventional way, other people can use a shortcut by consulting with a seasoned hair practitioner. So today I am joined with my colleagues whose combined experience is 40 years. And I'd like to welcome Dana, Donisha, and Marvelette to the chat. So welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hey,
So let me
Hello.
start off by giving a little bit of information about each of them. So Dana is a certified trichologist, Sister Locks master trainer, city certified research assistant, certified cold capper, veteran, and mother of a son on the autism spectrum. She is the director of Hair Cares Inc. and began her own Sister Locks journey in 2000. She took her initial Sister Locks consultant training course in September of 2000 and shortly thereafter became certified. Then we have Donisha, who is a certified trichologist with over 18 years of providing hair loss prevention and restoration for men and women who suffer from alopecia or hair loss. Donisha is licensed in the states of Georgia and North Carolina as a master cosmetologist, currently owning a hair and scalp treatment center in Augusta, Georgia. She also provides non-surgical hair replacement services. And then Miss Marvelous Marvelette. She is known as a pillar in the beauty industry and has over 30 years of experience, backed with in-depth training, licensure, and certifications. Marvelette continued her education and training in the paramedical and science fields by becoming a trichology healthcare practitioner and biomedical research assistant. So welcome again, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. So want to get started because you hear about consultations a lot, but some people don't ever experience them. So let's start off by learning what is being determined or what information are you gathering when you do a consultation. So Dana, let's start off with you.
Mm-hmm. So specifically for locks, a consultation, I'm really looking at the type of hair that the person has. What kind of curl pattern do you have? Because that curl pattern will then determine what kind of locking pattern that I will actually use to create the locks. Now, in regards to trichology, of course, the consultation, we're looking at a lot of things: your hair care history, your medical history, and what your issue is, what you're describing is what your issue is. So it's a lot of things that we take into consideration to then determine what course of action that we go now. The consultation is both really for the client and the practitioner, because we also need to see if we're a good fit as well. We're going to be spending a lot of time and energy with one another, so we need to make sure that we can partner really well with one another too. So that's important as well.
Excellent point, because I do not believe that everyone is a good fit. I think everyone has different atmospheres in their
Right.
establishment, and
Yeah.
depending upon what's going on in your personality, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marvelette, would you like to add anything to that?
Dana pretty much covered everything.
Okay. How about you, Donisha?
I just like to add that we also look at blood work, family history, as she mentioned, and it is important for us to know the type of medications that you're taking or that an individual is taking, and then their previous styling practices, because that could have also contributed to the type of hair loss that they're experiencing. And then in the salon, we want to make sure we know, any previous chemical treatments, whether it's relaxers or perms or color. We need to know that information, and then how often those services are performed and when the most recent service was performed, so that we can also move forward with that information as well.
Okay. So I'm curious, is there something that the client can do when they come or prior to coming in to prepare for the optimal consultation? So, Donisha, can you answer that?
One thing I definitely encourage is that the hair is free from any type of restrictive styling, because during the consultation, we also perform a scalp exam. And so we want to make sure that even after we complete the questions and we get a better understanding of their needs and concerns, we also want the hair to be free so that we can do an examination of the scalp and also the hair strands and fibers as well.
That's an excellent point. Marvelette, anything?
The hair history, or when they go to the doctor, if they had recent blood work, they might want to bring a copy of that. Any medications they're taking, bring those, or at least the names of them.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, their dermatologist or a primary care physician, or if they've seen a specialist, and then their stylist, if the stylist had previously left. I like to talk to them if they're open to discuss different things, especially concerning hair loss.
Okay. And Dana?
I would add to just be prepared to give a sequence of events, right? Or some have an idea of when the issue started. What did you do in the meantime before you came and see me? We really need to know what happened so we can get an idea of time frame, if this issue is aggressive or not. So I would just be prepared in your mind to be able to tell your story in an honest, open way. Because you really don't want the practitioner to have to like fight to get the information out of you. Because we need to be able to get the information so that we can make some recommendations or create a plan specifically for what you're going through.
Okay, so Marvelette mentioned trichology, and I don't think we defined that for this particular broadcast.
Mhm.
So, would someone like to talk about what trichology is? And then let's talk about, is the consultation different? I mean, so you added trichology in there, so it makes me think that maybe the consultation may be a little different for someone who is going in for trichology services versus someone who's going for like hairstyling services.
Mhm.
So who wants to talk about what trichology is? Nobody? Okay.
Nobody wants to talk
I
about
will pick.
That's
Um,
okay.
Donisha, will you please explain what trichology is?
Sure. So, trichology is the study of the hair and scalp and its disorders and maladies. And so, with trichology and cosmetology, there is a different type of consultation. It can be similar in many ways, as far as examining the hair, examining the scalp, and then also gathering some basic history information, as we mentioned, color, styling practices, lifestyle. Um, with cosmetology, it's designed to get an understanding of where this person is. Well, both, I would say, cosmetology and trichology. The idea is to get an understanding of where this person is, where they would like to go, and how we got to where we are. Um, but the biggest difference, I would say, in cosmetology consultations versus trichology, with trichology, we have to dig a little deeper and understanding a lot more of the history, a lot more of what got us to this point of the hair loss. It's not so much as the mechanical or the styling practices that we're trying to get a resolve for, but more so with what caused the hair loss, what's contributing to the hair loss, and then how we can go in and correct that concern. So it's very similar, yet a little different in the sense of we gather. I like to believe we gather a lot more information in trichology than we do in cosmetology, because we have to dig a lot deeper to get an understanding of what's going
Mhm.
on.
Yes.
Okay. Does either you, Marvelette, or you, Dana, have anything to add to the differences?
I was
Yes.
just going. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Oh, I was just going to say that trichology is a little more personal
Yes.
because it is deeper. So you ask a little more personal. The questions are a little personal, but they are so close together because sometimes when they assume it's a cosmetology consultation, you often find out things that kind of cross over, and it can turn into a trichology consultation.
Mhm.
Or let me say this: it will prompt you to discuss doing a trichology consultation
Mhm.
because there is totally a difference in price and time and everything between the two.
Mhm. And Dana?
So for a lock consultation, I'm not really asking about your medical history unless I have identified something as I am assessing your hair. So if you haven't, your hairline, you having issues with your hairline or something's going on with your scalp when I assess it, then that's a different story. But primarily for a lock consultation, I'm looking at the hair, the state of the hair, regards to the curl pattern, what kind of curl pattern you have,
Mhm.
because that curl pattern is then going to determine what locking pattern I'm going to use for your hair type. But for trichology, that's a whole different ball game. We're going to get into your medical history, find out if you had any surgeries. We're going to be looking at blood work. So that's a more in depth. I'm trying to figure out what might be the root cause of your hair loss. So obviously, that's going to take a lot more time as well.
Okay.
I want to add something to that too, because I don't think we've mentioned that with trichology, we also typically give a scalp exam with a microscope, versus with cosmetology, the microscope is usually not utilized in that type of consultation. So, as was mentioned, it does take more time, and it is more of an in-depth examination and review.
So that's a good segue into my next question, because sometimes it can take a lot of time. And with the prices of gas now, I can't just thinking about how people drive and spend their gas money, and so if they're paying for services, sometimes you may want to be cognizant of that and help them out. So is there an instance where a virtual consultation can be used, and when is it good and when is it not acceptable? Marvelette?
So normally we do the virtual consultation when it's a complimentary consultation. Usually for me, if we're trying again to see if we're a good fit, or if you are interested in going further with your services, to give you what I offer and give you a basic overview of what I'm seeing or what you're telling me. But we're not gathering information. I'm not keeping notes. Not really. I might write a little something as I'm talking to you if it jar, but we're not creating. I'm not creating a file. I don't do all that. So that would be something simple. If you just had a basic question or concern, but if you had a serious issue, you need a real in-person consultation.
Okay. And I see everyone else nodding. So Dana?
Well, I actually love to do virtual consultations. That is my primary way of business at this point right now. I send a scope out for my consultations and have the client take specific pictures of their scalp. And then they're able to upload it to a HIPAA compliant portal that allows me to see what's going on, along with intake information that they can provide in my portal with medical and intake forms of that nature. So I think that a virtual consultation could be very effective depending on how in depth you go.
Okay. And how about you, Donisha?
I'm a little different. So I don't do very many virtual consults. I offer a complimentary phone consult, and then also the in clinic, because I like to get hands on. I like to be able to see what you're describing or what the individual is describing as their concern. Sometimes they will mention one thing, and then when we get to the exam, I visually see something different. And then the microscope tells a whole different story. And so for my practice, I do either a phone consult or in office or in clinic. I haven't done very many of the virtuals outside of, like Marvelette mentioned, just very basic information just to identify what the concerns are. But I encourage them to come in.
All right, so it sounds like there's a difference between a complimentary consultation and a paid consultation, because I'm sure, Dana, you are not sending out a scope and getting that in-depth information, and they're not able to, put at least a down payment on to replace the scope if it doesn't come back.
Of course.
Can you tell me the difference between a complimentary consultation? I think we hit on it just a little bit, but with you saying that you send out a scope and everything, I think it warrants more discussion to understand the differences. So can you, Dana, talk about the differences?
Yeah, so complimentary exactly is very basic. That is a conversation over the phone for me, just to find out if you're a candidate at all, and to make sure that we're paired up really nicely. and just for you to explain what's going on, how long it's been going on, because it may be no need for you to come in or do a virtual consultation based off what you're talking about. So a complimentary is just a few minutes of time, right? A full-fledged, comprehensive consultation takes time. I mean, at least, at a minimum, an hour, at least. And it's more in depth about your medical history as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marvelette, would you like to add something?
No, I prefer but the only thing I add as far as the complimentary, because I'm real careful with those, because in-person complimentaries, they tend to try to run over. They really want more than you can offer for a complimentary. So I usually max it at 15 minutes. Phone is different, and so is virtual, because you can cap it better. But that's it. For me, I believe the complimentary is to see, like Dana said, if we are a good fit, and if I can help you, and if you will allow me to help you, because everybody's not receptive to what you're offering.
That's true. Anything to add, Donisha?
I just like to add, I also love to use the complimentary consult to identify if you need to go and get lab work or get blood work done before you come in. That way we're not doing a consult and then we're sending and then a lot of back and forth. So I like to eliminate that by identifying in the complimentary consult if I'm going to need labs for that in-clinic visit. And so I can identify that and encourage that to be done before we go forward with the examination and the full consultation.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So we talked about, or it seems as though we're talking about people who are being serviced by you for a longer term, or assessing whether that is a need, there's a need for that. What about people who do hair on their own, or they do their own hair? So is it worthwhile to do a consultation for someone who does their own hair? Donisha?
Yes, it is. The consult is a key instrument in knowing how to move forward. So if you are struggling with, your hair texture, your styling preference, or a different look, or if you're interested in getting even a color service or a chemical service, and sometimes even if you're dealing with your hair at home, an individual may go online and research a lot of different things, and they don't know what to use or which way to go. So that consultation will clear that up. You go, the professional can actually guide that person, that individual, in understanding their hair texture or their hair type, what products are best for their hair, what styles may be best for their face shape or their hair texture. There's a lot of information that can be uncovered and discovered in the consultation that'll help individuals from having to spend so much time and money just buying products or researching different styles and trying different things that they may or may not like, when in the consult that can be discussed and they can be able to move forward and take better care of their hair themselves.
Awesome. Dana, would you like to add anything?
Yes. I love the independent client. That is my preferred client. I'm honestly, but it is to their advantage to see a professional as well, because sometimes we cannot see what's going on in the back of our head. You might need a professional to take a assessment of what's going on. You may be experiencing some hair loss and don't even know it. So it is advisable to go see someone, even for just preventative measures as well. So it's always nice to know the why behind things. So why you're using a certain shampoo or conditioner, why you're using the impact of what you're doing to your hair. So I definitely think the independent client still needs to see a professional here and there.
Marvelette, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so it's important because you can pick up tips
Mm-hmm.
and knowledge in doing it on hair. Like, I do not recommend doing chemicals at home, but certain things you can use as buffers in between, and just a lot of tips. Certain products you shouldn't use, and as Dana said, different shampoos. Because I'm a stickler for saying shampoo is shampoo is shampoo. Not true. Each shampoo does something different, and depending on your styling choices, you have to use different shampoos or conditioners.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important.
Yeah. So I can definitely attest to having a consultation because when I first went natural the second time, I should say, my friend and who is a cosmetologist came to my house just to show me and to experiment on different products and how my hair was going to respond for the different ways that I wanted to do it or I could potentially do it. So that consultation was awesome. And to this day, I use the exact same products that was suggested during that consultation because I was able to see, okay, if I use it like this versus using it a different way, this is the outcome. And so I don't fix what's not broken. And it is so funny. I'm the last person you want to talk to if you're trying to convince someone to use a new product because when I find what works, I don't deviate at all. But yes, that consultation really helped me out for the years that I've been natural for this last time. Awesome. So there are different services. There are braiding services. There are commercial hair integrations, as Marvalette calls them, which are extensions or weaves. And so, is there any type of service that you would say a consultation is not needed? Just curious.
No.
No. I mean, no. You want to you want to have a true expectation of from what you're doing, right? What you want to do, and then what's going to be required once you do it. So I don't offer any services without a consultation. I need to know as the practitioner what I'm up against, what I'm working with, how long it's going to take me to provide this service to you. I need to have an expectation as well. So I think the consultation also just set the expectation for the client and the practitioner.
Okay. Now, there are some professionals who feel that it's not in their best interest to give advice or consult someone on how to care for their hair between services. And Dana, you talked about you
Yeah,
loving the independent
I
client.
do. I do.
But so that answers the question in terms of how you feel about giving, advice to clients. But do you give that advice because they are a paying client, or you would give that advice even if it was a complimentary consultation? I'm trying to set expectations for potential clients to come in. Are they going to get information in terms of what products they should use if you do the complimentary consultation versus if they pay for it, are you giving more in-depth information? So I have two questions.
Mhm.
The first one is, how do you feel about giving advice when they're not coming in week by week and they're, going to be doing it on their own? And then how much information are you giving them? So Marvalette,
Mhm.
can you start us off about how you feel about, is it in the professional's best interest to let them know how to care for their own hair?
I think so, especially either way, if they're a client, it makes my job easier. It's less I have to do because I specialize in healthy hair. So that's the only thing I've ever specialized in 33 years. So it makes my job easier. When you walk out, my name is attached to that. So it's a win-win. And even if you're not a client, everybody can't afford to be serviced like that. So I would rather them ask a professional than go to the internet. Ask somebody who kind of knows. I'm not going to say the people on the internet don't know because you can get a lot of good information. But as Miss Stacy likes to say, take the meat and leave the bones. Like, take what you need and then fact check. So I would rather them ask a professional.
Yeah. And everybody's hair isn't the same. So even though
Exactly.
there may be some advice given on the internet, you need to see what would work for you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Donisha?
Okay, so what was the first question again?
The first question was, how do you feel about giving advice to clients, even though they may be doing it on their own?
Okay, so I have no problem with that. So if it's a client that needs a certain product or style, I can give a general um, recommendation as far as what their concerns are, but it's very difficult to go into depth if I haven't done a consultation, or I don't have, if I'm limited with the information that I've received, then it's hard for me to give a full detail of, you know, what products in detail. But in general, I can give, you know, recommendations in general as far as, you know, if you want softer hair, just by looking at the texture that you have or knowing the texture that you have, or if you want shinier hair, you know, there's general information that can be given. But if you're looking for something, because this is the expectation that I would like to set, is that if you're looking for details, get the consultation. So a lot of times people will come and they say, oh, I just want you to tell me what to use. But after 5 minutes into the conversation, they actually need to sit down and have an in-depth conversation, because it's a lot more than just surface. But if it's just a general question, yeah, we can offer that. That's not a problem. But just so that people know, you know, if you need to know in-depth information about your particular circumstances and to get the best out of where you are to get where you want to go, get the consult. Just go ahead and get the consultation.
So it sounds like the paid consultation would be that more in depth, where you would really get down to the questions and not just scratch the surface.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then the ones where it's just general, oh, this particular product has been used for shine, and so you know, you should try it. Okay, got it.
Because the reality is there's tons of products on the market, and there's some really good products in different brands, for different textures, different styles. So giving general information, definitely we can do that as far as our understanding of the general information that's given, right? So with more information, with more in-depth information, then we can actually be more precise as far as to what type of products to use.
Awesome. And so, Dana, you gave your perspective earlier. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
but if you wanted to add something based on what you
No, I just love an educated client and an independent client. I don't want, if something happens to me, that your world is in the uproar because I'm not available. So I love educated clients.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Now, I'm curious because people can relate to stories, right? So, do you have any stories or examples of where something went wrong that could have been prevented with a particular consultation? I mean, I can think of many, you know, because I've experimented on myself, but you guys see people day in and day out. So I'm really curious about some experiences that you've had. So, Dana, do you have any examples of where something went wrong that could have been prevented?
I did a lot wrong to I did a lot. No, really, honestly, I have experienced a lot of wrong things to know what to do now, right? Specifically in the lock world, obviously consultation is key, is the first thing. However, I did have a client come in for a consultation and she was not prepared, meaning that she had a protective style in her hair. So that kind of throws off the consultation because I'm not able to see the entire head. I'm not able to assess the scalp and see what's going on. And I was only able to look at the little bit that she had free. And I did that. However, when it was time for her to come back for her establishment, she had all of this hair. It was much longer than the area in which I assessed. And so obviously I didn't set a good expectation of time that it would take me to do it. because I hadn't assessed how long her hair was, and I wasn't able to assess the full body of her scalp as well. So we had a lot of issues that actually prevented us to move on the day that we scheduled. So I would definitely, I learned the hard way how important that consultation was. So now I don't offer any service without a consultation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Donisha?
So I too have made many mistakes. So I definitely understand the importance of doing a consultation, because I have had an instance where someone has said to me, "Oh, I have dry scalp and it's flaky." And just by going from the conversation and not actually doing an in-depth questionnaire to understand, okay, are you on any type of medications? Have you been to a dermatologist? Have you had a diagnosis? Not getting any of that information or even history. I have gone, and this was early on, but I had went just by having a brief conversation with the individual, and they come in and it's not dry scalp at all. It's a fungus, or it's, it's a lot that's going on. And so my approach to that is completely different from just basic dry scalp. And so I had to learn that before I actually do the exam, I need to ask several questions to understand this individual's history, because the reality is I've never met this person. They're coming in for a service and they're looking for a result. But in order for me to be effective in my approach, I have to understand what's been going on and also where this individual is at the time of service. And so that situation taught me as well that even before the scalp exam, or before even doing a full consult, I need to have a scope of the situation that's at hand and have better questions. I had to go in and tweak my questions and be very strategic as to what I was asking and the information that I was looking for, so I know how to move forward with this individual.
Awesome. And Marvelette?
So I guess I'm going to say I3 have made a lot of mistakes. I think everybody has. That's how you learn. You can't learn if you don't make mistakes. So the reason why I do a consultation on everybody, everybody has a file. So I have the top file trichology clients, and I have the bottom file of regular. It's really no regular hair clients, but just hair clients. Because, and again, like Donisha said, she has to tweak her paperwork, because you ask questions, but you have to ask specific questions. You have to ask everything. Like, you think this is covered when you ask that, but it's not. So their understanding of what something means and my understanding, or the professional's understanding, is completely different. So you can say, do you have color in your hair? They might have had a rinse a year ago and never got it redid, but it's still there if you didn't cut your hair off. It's the residue is still there. Especially if it was black, you go to do a blonde color or a lighter color, the hair come up green, or somebody might have had highlights. And this happened to me, had highlights, covered it up with a rinse about a month later, but it's still there. That you want to relax it. But I'm a stickler for. When you come see me for the first time after the consultation, the only service I will do is a shampoo blow dry. You get no chemicals. I don't do any chemicals, because the water's going to tell me a different story from what you told me. Not necessarily that you were untruthful. You just didn't know. My answer and your answer just don't match, because my understanding and your understanding is different. So I had I'm not even going to that, but.
Well, I did ask for examples, but I would respect your decision not to put someone on blast if you feel that they will know that you're talking.
That's why I stopped myself, because it's not being facetious. It's just an example, like you said, but they don't know. So I don't, like some people say, well, clients be lying. I don't say that, because it's not necessarily that. That could be the case in some situations, but I like to say it's the not knowing. Because again, our understanding of something and their understanding of something just don't match, because that's not their area of expertise.
Right. Okay. Well, I
agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because a lot of times people don't understand why we need to have answers to all these questions. If I'm coming just for a salon service, or I'm just coming about my hair, why are you asking me about my diet? Why are you asking me about medication?
Right.
And so, if a person is not fully understanding why, then sometimes they may omit information in a hurry, or just because they don't feel that it's necessary. So they'll just check the boxes and keep going. And so in that consultation, that identifies with us that, okay, you look at a form that's half completed, or a form that, they check no through all the sections. But then when we start discussing different things and asking probing questions, actually most of these should have been yes with details. So it's important that we get to the bottom of it when we're in our consultations, and ask as many questions as possible. And as a trichologist, you learn to tweak those questions so that you can be very strategic to get I won't say the correct answer, but to get a detailed answer so that you can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The most accurate answer. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that, Marvelette.
You notice if you go on a job interview, or if you do a test for a job or something, they'll ask you a repetitive question. They'll just word it different, even when you take a test for school.
Mhm.
And that's why, because if I ask it this way, you understand to me one thing. If I switch around and ask another way, you will understand to me something different, and you get a different answer.
Sure.
That's true.
Very true.
Mhm.
So is there anything about hair consultations that you would like to share that I did not have a question for? Just want to give you the opportunity.
I would share this, and I think I called you with this. So something I noticed, I don't know if I should say it, because are we gonna do the study? I noticed a pattern. Should I say it?
It's totally up to you.
I choose not to, but I'm not gonna say exactly what it was. I noticed a pattern doing trichology consultations with 4 of my clients who had the same issue, the same type of hair loss, and the exact same medical issue going on. And I noticed 2 in one day. One was probably months ago prior, and the other one was a year prior. But I remembered, it's like a little bell went off my hand. I was like, wait a minute. It was the exact same thing. So I called Dr. Porter. I was like, okay, I think I got a study for us. And so you find out different things, and you can help other people because you know it's in a pattern. And then you start asking, well, did you have this going on? Did you have that going on? Did this happen? And it's a history. So that will help you further understand, possibly catch something else that's going on with them.
Right.
So
I am so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, but you raised the point that I made a couple of episodes ago when I was talking about how important it is for us as scientists to lose the elitist mentality that we may have, because when you listen to what professionals such as yourself experience, I do believe that there is the potential for us to get in a more in-depth understanding of what's going on with people if we understand, and it will feed into precision medicine or personalized care. And that's, so I'm thinking about medicine in the healthcare field, but for us, it will be in the world of hair care. And so there are so many studies that we need to start doing as scientists. So thank you for bringing that up. And I think it fits in with consultations, because when you get in-depth understanding of what's going on with your clients, then that information comes out and you can start seeing the patterns that you identify. So thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important for me to be connected with serious and conscientious hair practitioners such as yourself. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we end, I always want to give the opportunity for you to give information on how to contact you. So Marvelette, can you please share?
So I can be contacted at 773-629-6938. or you can email me at info@trichoscienceclinic.com.
You want
That's
to spell that?
Yep. info at tricho scienceclinic.com.
Awesome. And Donisha?
Okay. I can be reached at the office number is 706-373-9184. And email is info@the HBTC, and that is info@THEHBTC.com.
And I'll put it in the chat. So this will air, but I will put it in the chat. I should have put it in the little pop up, but Dana.
The best way to contact me is via email, which is info@haircaresinc.com. And that's info@haircaresinc.com.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate your expertise. And we will be continuing these sessions, the Voices of Trichology, because you add a unique dimension as to, you give the practicality for what people want to know. So thank you for that. So I want to just remind people that I am expanding my research efforts, and I am in need of tightly curled hair from people of African descent. So if you would like to get paid for cutting off all your hair that's at least 5 inches or longer, and you live in the Chicagoland area, you can go to links.maininsights.com. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, this is it here, /curly hair. So you should be able to see that. If you go there, you can see if you qualify. So I would appreciate it if you know of someone, like maybe a guy who has longer hair, he wants to get his hair cut off. So don't let all that go down in the trash. You can actually get paid for your hair. So then I want to talk about you watching this broadcast, because if you see it the day that it will air, because this has been pre-recorded, I'm currently at Premier Orlando, and we'll be having a follow-up webinar on June 12th. So I will be sharing how you can make more money by learning more about your clients and positioning yourself to have real scientific impact on the industry. So you can go to links.maininsights.com info for more information there. Let's see right there. And you should see that on the screen right now. All right. And if you are looking at the replay, be sure to post your comments and questions. And we are always available to follow up. And if you are someone who is in need of finding a vetted hair professional, you are looking at the ones who I definitely would recommend you to. So if you want to schedule a consultation, you can go to links.maininsights.com/appointment, and you can schedule a consultation, complimentary. And so, as always, remember that our Black hair matters, and always take care and love your hair. Thanks so much for your attention, and see you later. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
See you later, everybody.